Once upon a time, there was a place called Pangaea that existed millions of years ago. Then, for some reason, it kind of split up into pieces and became the continents. People sort of forgot about this side of the world for a while, and this side is sort of irrelevant. We're going to focus on this part right here called Nigeria.
Origins of civilization in Nigeria date as far back as 900 BC, beginning with Nok people in the southern slopes of the Jos Plateau. They were an extremely advanced society, possibly one of the first complex civilizations in West Africa.
Do we get an award for that?
No, you don't get an award for that. But you can get one of these cool terracottas you guys made a lot of. Yeah, they made a lot of terracottas of human heads and animals. A little alarming, but pretty neat. Not as neat as the Supreme God, aka Nam. When being tried at court, people tested both the chief priest in a high chair made of rocks and Nam. Gotta tell the truth around God Nam over here. The court system was a pretty big deal to them. It had a lot to do with the caste system. Their caste system was typical of other areas to what we know today, but currently it's against the law to search more with archaeology.
Let us dig! Let us dig!
Once the Nuk mysteriously disappeared around 200 to 500 CE, there was a bit of a lull in the action. Little tribes and kingdoms started popping up along the trade routes, but no empire was very large. They kept themselves as tiny little trading towns between northern and central Africa. Then the Hausa tribe came in. They were pretty big. Since they were huge, the majority of trading between northern and central Africa had to pass through them. That's about all they had going for them, size and trade. Yeah, that went on for a while, and trading kept them alive. Trade some ivory here, some gold there, and some slaves everywhere.
Portuguese explorers navigated into Nigeria in 1472. They traded brass and copper for pepper, cloth, ivory, and slaves. That was cool, not the slavery part or the slow gain of European dominance, or the diseases that were transmitted, but Nigeria was introduced to the world economy through this trade. After this guy discovered America, a new cycle of trade was formed called triangular trade. European traders would trade textiles and guns for Nigerian slaves. Those slaves would be taken to the Americas and used to create raw goods such as sugar, cotton, and rum, and sell these to the Europeans. In Europe, they would use these raw products to make guns and textiles to sell to Africans, like in Nigeria, for slaves, and this process would start over. Breaking news: the Fulani tribe has successfully taken over the Hausa to establish an Islamic Sokoto Caliphate in the north. Yoruba land is faced with a civil war that weakens it and allows the British to establish a presence around Laos. That's never good. Also, slavery is over. This is a crucial part of Nigerian history that doesn't happen in Nigeria, or in Africa for that matter, but in Berlin. The Berlin Conference allows British claim to Oil Rivers Protectorate, which meant that the British had control over the Nigerian-produced oil in southern Nigeria. In 1879, the United African Company, or the Royal Niger Company, was formed. The formation of this British company and the political power already established in southern Nigeria helped the British Crown assume dominance over Nigeria in the year 1900. Under British rule, northern and southern Nigeria were combined, and the fall of the Sokoto Caliphate occurred in 1903. And, similar to many other colonies, Nigerians were not a fan of the British.
In October of 1960, the Nigerians finally got tired of British rule and were like, this is garbage, we should be free, and decided to declare their independence. They were like, this democracy sounds really cool. Let's try that. It failed, badly. Too much corruption, you know how it is. Following their shot at democracy, a military coup occurred in 1966 and established a pattern of military-based government systems. Because of the differences between the tribes and different leaders, unification seemed almost impossible. In Nigeria, there are two dominant ethnic groups, the Igbo and Yoruba. The Igbo and much of the Christian population are members of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons. The Yoruba dominate the Action Group Party. And finally, the Northerners and Muslims dominate in the Nigerian People's Congress. Moving forward, all of these groups got mad when this one guy came up with a bright idea to try and split the existing 4 regions of Nigeria into 12 states. These were like, hey, so we don't want to be like this, sorry, we're independent now, and called themselves Biafra. The Nigerian side decided this was not okay, and so the Civil War started. At the end, 1 million people were dead, and the Biafra lost. After this, there were 2 more republics to get to where we are today. At first, the general from the Civil War was in charge, but then General Muhammad removed Gowon in a bloodless coup. This didn't really work out for them, so he was assassinated. Oops. His chief of staff started to reform and industrialize because Nigeria had oil. Also, now there were 36 states under him. They tried democracy again, but instead, after a couple years of elections, the military took over. In the Third Republic, things got better. Well, kinda. They returned to democracy until one guy got mad at a businessman and nullified one of the elections. This led to turmoil. Today, the main cause of conflict in Nigeria are issues between different ethnic groups. Additionally, the conflict between Muslims and Christians in this area has caused many disagreements, such as the fact that 1/3 of Nigeria's states follow Sharia law. Culturally, Nigeria is a neato mix of Islamic, Christian, and European influences.